Hey guys, if you think about buying yourself a Mouth Almighty, then keep watching this video as I've been keeping them for 6 months, and today I'll be telling you everything I know and what I've learned when it comes to looking after them. So let's get started. Now, as I've mentioned, I've been keeping my Mouth Almighty for a while, and I will say that the Mouth Almighty is one of the most unique fish that you'll find. You'll notice that this fish looks like a mix between a barramundi, a butterfly fish, and a bushfish. If you always wanted to keep a cool predatory fish but never had the space, this fish is the perfect substitute for someone with a medium-sized aquarium. And these fish will go absolutely nuts if you put some insects, shrimp, live fish, or anything that moves. These fish are definitely quick when food goes in the tank. Let's go into some specifics. The first thing we should talk about is the tank setup. These fish need at least 36-gallon tank or 135 liters, which you could keep at least 2 to 3. When making this tank, be sure that this has a lot of plants and some caves for them to hide in. These fish will definitely appreciate some floating plants. Now, we will talk about the temperature. I keep my fish tanks around 26 degrees Celsius, and my Mouth Almighty is doing great. When you first get these fish, they will definitely be shy and will hide. Mine hid for like 2 days before it started staying out and eating. So make sure you don't worry, stress about anything going on, because it's most likely they're just stressed. So just don't worry if they don't come out for the first few days. After they relax and stop stressing, they should just swim around the tank slowly, moving. Like mine right now just stares at me at the front of the glass, always begging for food. Now let's talk about their diet. For these fish, they eat in the wild, they eat crustaceans, insects that have fallen into the water, small fish, and worms. These fish will definitely eat all of those if you drop them in the tank, and will go berserk if you do that. Just remember, some Mouth Almighties you buy from the store might have only been eating live fish or live food. So, just always ask the store owner what they've been feeding, or else you might be stuck in the gutter. Mouth Almighties do not have to eat only live foods, and if it makes you uncomfortable, you can just feed them flakes and pellets. You just got to make sure they're getting their protein, because these fish are carnivores. If you wanted to vary up their diet, you could try frozen foods. I do bloodworms, and he eats them like a champ. And you could probably try and feed him like bug-based pellets or food. Like, I feed mine 1 to 2 times a day with pellets and flakes, then once a week with live foods. You can change how you want your schedule to look like, but that's just what I'm suggesting. Remember, if you keep these fish, if they get hungry enough, they will try and eat fish that are their size or smaller. And I have a story about that exact thing. So one time I went to Rockhampton for a holiday, and my neighbour was supposed to take care of my fish and feed them pellets and stuff like that. And when I came back, because I came back early because my neighbour went to the hospital, and I came back to one of my catfish being swallowed, and Evan was laying down on the ground of the tank with this catfish's tail sticking out of its mouth. And yeah, so just beware. Now, let's talk about tank mates for the Mouth Almighty. Me personally, right now, I have them with Chinese algae eaters and bala sharks. But if you keep them with small fish that are small enough to be eaten or too big that they will eat the Mouth Almighty, you should not keep them. Any fish that is the same size as the Mouth Almighty and peaceful can be kept with it. Also, I have just gotten a bigger tank for my sharks after suggestions in the comments, and I will be posting a video about that soon. Back on topic. The Mouth Almighty is a very peaceful fish. It's only regarded as semi-aggressive because of its predatory nature, but I've never seen it chase or try and harm any of my fish in the tank. Now I'll talk about this lifespan and size of these fish. On average, they'll grow 12 centimeters, but in the wild, the biggest one ever caught was 18 centimeters. So if you keep them long enough and they have a good diet and quality water, then they could grow to 18 centimeters or bigger. Also, these fish can live 5 years or more if they have good conditions. So if they are a bit of a long-term commitment. Now, with the question if they are active or passive, they are definitely a passive fish. They do sit around all day, but when they get hungry, they get fired up and they will swim around constantly and will eat a lot. People might say that these fish are boring, but it really just comes to circumstance. If you are feeding them, then they are not boring and they will be the coolest fish in your house, right? And other than that, they kind of sit around, wander the tank, but they will always greet you. Mine is very personable. Whenever I come home from school, he always comes from his cave and launches up and begs me for food. These fish are very hardy, but you should still keep them in good conditions with low nitrates, and you should also give them a good oxygen in the water, or they could die, but they have been known to live in low oxygen bodies of water. These fish could be considered beginner fish, but it just depends on how you keep them. If you can keep plants with them, then I would definitely recommend these fish. Just remember, this guide is all about my experience with the fish and what I've learnt from keeping it. So, if you guys have a different experience with it, that's just because of the different fish and different personalities. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like or subscribing, because it would let me know what you guys are into, and it would just make me do more videos.